This is a follow-up from our first episode with John Roberts, Group Director of Sustainability and Conservation at Minor Hotels. If you haven't listened to episode 1, go back there to listen to John's career journey to sustainability and his opinion of changing sustainability landscape. In the second episode, we continue our conversation with John on Minor Hotel sustainability brand standards and more on the path ahead. One of the targets which really caught my attention, and I'm really passionate about this, is the single-use plastic reduction.
Yep.
75% single-use reduction by 2025.
Yes.
Next year.
On a
few months.
Yes.
So explain to us, it's a bold statement, and this is something that I wish every hotel did it. So explain to us a little bit behind how much ever you can in terms of how does an initiative like that trickle down to the hotels, and where are you on achieving this target?
Well, I mean, this is a little bit outside the hotel side of things because Minor also has a food group side of things as well. So that's a goal Minor-wide. And we, to be honest, we can control the food group a lot more easily because when we started the initiative within the whole thing, the food group are going to get there. But anyway, it wasn't necessarily so looked at in the food group as it was in the hotel side of things. So that side of things, the work that they have done to do it will to get rid of single-use plastic from the many restaurants we have around mostly Asia will carry us over the line. So
you're comfortably there for the target.
So the target was a tough one, but they put a lot of work into it, and it's because it's very, very controlled and we almost literally provide them, the franchisees and the franchises, with all the equipment they need so we can take out. But through the hotel side of things, we were already quite a way when I think it started in 2019 baseline. We were already quite a way towards it through green growth and everything else. I keep coming back to green growth, but that was one of those things that forced us to have a look at the single-use plastic. Now, there is still a lot of single-use plastic around in the hotels, but so what we're doing to eliminate that is we have written in, hasn't been necessarily 100% approved yet, but a brand standard saying for Anantara's that there will be no single-use plastic as part of the guest journey and everybody signed off on this, from this year. Now, there is a caveat there, and I have to tell you, I'm a realist in this business. I've been doing it for quite a while now. People, and this isn't just hoteliers, people don't see single-use plastic anymore. They just don't see it. It's gone. So what we're doing is saying, okay, please list this. It will say in the brand standard, no single-use plastic but anything that you already have and you can't get rid of, please log it and discuss it within your team. Discuss it within the cluster team. Discuss it within the global team. Do you have it? Yes, it's there. We know there are instances in our hotel where there's still single-use plastic, and even the general managers who have signed off and said, I can get rid of it. Actually, there are things they won't be able to get rid of overnight. And I know that it's going to be a brand standard, and it says guest journey, and it says all of those things there. But what it'll do is force people to have a look at that, first of all, at hotel level. Do we really need this? What's it going to cost to replace? What's it going to cost? Because you don't really need it. You can, but there's always a cost to everything, and you've got to look at the balance. Okay, some things probably you can't get rid of because it's so ingrained in everywhere. But let's have a look at it first. So it's basically, it's not an experiment, but it's a collective idea to try and, my plan behind that brand standard was to get a hold of we know roughly where we are, but we do know there are little bits, and where are the commonalities? Where are the things that saying, okay, take out coffee cups with lids. The lids are there. They are plastic. They are single-use plastic.
Recyclable of it is really a different story.
Yeah, exactly that. So is first of all, yes, does everybody need them for how many do you use a year? Well, you use 10 a year. Okay, for that, then you can afford to do. But for the hotels where they have, say, a destination coffee shop, they're not going to be able to get rid of them overnight. So then you can look and then we have a record in at the cluster level, ideally at a global level, and as and when replacements come out, or we can look at, okay, can we afford to give people a reusable cup? Can we afford to take a stand and say, no, this is our principle, we won't give you takeout coffee? Can we afford to do it? What?
Correct.
How much? And so we have to have a look, and we have to know on a global level what we want to do. And this is a way of doing that. So first of all, the brand standard will force people to look through their operation and take, okay, do I really need these things? Is there anything I can get locally? You send it to cluster level, and you see one hotel is doing it, one hotel's managed to get rid of it. Share stories, because we have different brands, we have different hotels, all operating in, and they're not necessarily all sharing what they're doing as well as we possibly could make it happen. This is my way of making it happen. And then it goes to the purchasing departments, and they're always looking at, and one of the things that I think, I've never worked for another hotel chain, but one of the things I think I'm really blessed with is the purchasing departments are really switched on to this. The guys I work with I'm sure it's the same in the UAE, the guys I work with in Bangkok, they're sending me every 5 minutes, I've got this solution, I've got that solution, I've heard of this, I've heard of that, things that can replace, and then we have a look at it and see. So it allows us to get a handle on the problem. And I think, yes, so to answer your question, we, in 2019, the hotel side of things, we'd been thinking about it for a very long time.
Correct.
Almost all of at least anyone with Green Growth 2050, we hadn't yet in those days managed to stop the production of Anantara branded plastic bottles. We've managed to stop that, but so the reduction, we still had some work to do, but it was fairly, the obvious ones are out of the way. And we're now working towards getting the small ones off. But the baseline was a minor wide baseline, and we had other aspects of our business. So it was, yes, reducing 75% of the hotel side of things from 2019 would have been.
Correct.
But what it does is it focuses us very closely on getting rid of the remaining ones, and finding that if somebody is quietly sneaking. We have a guest satisfaction survey. And that has 2 questions on it related to sustainability. One, specifically on single-use plastic. How do you rate our efforts on getting rid of single-use plastic? And the second one is rate our efforts on biodiversity conservation and wildlife and biodiversity.
Right.
And what I think general managers don't know is I get to see all the answers every week. I don't necessarily... Oh, yeah, I do read them every week. But yeah, and so if somebody is... And the funny thing about single-use plastic bottles or these things, one guest noticed them, as we've already mentioned, and secondly, they sneak back in to any operation. It completely
Convenience.
Yes, it's convenience, but it's funny because it should be one of the simplest things to get rid of. And the general manager might not know, but somebody somewhere has, unless you're talking, and I think it's because we live in a hotel we're almost literally in a sustainability bubble here. But I'm going to say particularly in Asia, I don't know what it's like in the Middle East, but I think everywhere, single-use plastic bottles are just such a part of life that unless you almost stress to every team member every day, no single-use plastic bottles. It's such a normal thing that somebody would go and say, okay, we've run out of glass bottles, now let's go and buy some plastic. And then they get in, and then they're there, oh, we'll just use them for this one use.
Correct.
And I don't want to belittle cancer as a disease, but I kind of liken them, if you allow, because at a certain point in our journey, we were, well, can we only use them around the pool? Or can we only use them when people come back can we only use them in the gym? Or somebody was keeping them at the bell counter for when you go running in the morning and you come back and you're tired, and the great service, by the way, the bellman would bring a nice bottle of water and put it in front of you. Can we use them for that one purpose? And I think we probably started out saying yes, until the realization struck that if you have them in one place and somebody's buying them, then, oh, well, it's quite convenient to have, and then they slowly come back in again. So it's Yeah, and that's another story from the history of from the journey.
Correct. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And that's Anantara logo, right?
Yeah, it's a life. I quite like it. I'm warming to it. I call it the guest journey now, and I think it obviously was thought about a lot and possibly came from a marketing department, but I like it as a guest journey.
Anantara, endless.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The Sanskrit word for it from my Indian origin.
Yeah.
What I know is Anantara means that, endless hospitality.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that you're on. And I think what you explained to us, this entire podcast has been a journey.
Yes.
Be it your 20 years, starting with conservation, biodiversity, and how we've shifted gears to doing things more numbers oriented now, and it's more the talk of the town.
Yep.
And also with plastics. If I was to summarize what you said, was two things. One, you have great brand standards. I think that's one half the battle. Yep. Because once it's a brand standard, then operations, you have a lot more power and muscle behind it.
And a specific brand standard as of 2024. So hopefully that's going to be even better, because it was all in the brand standards, but it was just, now it's there, front and center.
Right.
No single-use plastic, or it does say no single-use plastic during the guest journey.
Correct.
But then it says if you have single-use plastic, you have it written down and you tell us about it. Exactly.
And that's a journey, right? Yep. It's a brand standard. And it's a mandatory brand standard.
Yes.
Which means there is a stick at the back.
Yep.
If the brand standards are not met.
Yes.
And the carrot is, of course, the customer feedback.
Yep.
And everybody is aware. Then there's a KPI behind customer feedback.
Yep.
So that's also quite an important metric.
Yes.
And that's probably, you're catching them at both ends, which is probably getting people to fall in line towards targets.
Yep.
That's quite a nice story, John. And I think, look, we have a lot of sustainability heads listening to the podcast, and that's quite helpful when you share these stories. It almost gets others to think. And in terms of how could we do operations different? How do we get our teams motivated?
Yep.
So thank you. And my next question is about, it's a journey. So what's your plan ahead?
My plan ahead, I mean, personally or for the...
For the minor sustainability and, of course, your plan.
Well, for minor sustainability, I think we are, like the rest of the world, we experienced COVID. It seems an obvious thing to say. Reopening after COVID, I think, has given us a great opportunity, and I've seen it really, what I've seen since we reorganized after COVID as minor hotels is the people we brought in at, and they're going to be embarrassed, but and not the people who left were bad, but the people we've really brought in an organized team at vice president level to really start to plan how to grow this hotel. I think previously we didn't have any, we had a plan to grow to how we find hotels, how we identify what can be in Anantara and Avani and all those other things. And the brand standards are part of this as well. The people that have come in to organize and from moving forward, we still have massive expansion plans. But I have great confidence in my new bosses, which is a very convenient thing to say on a podcast, but it's true, in that they're actually really, you walk into head office now and they're saying, okay, this is, if you want to grow at this pace, and this is what you need to put in place to make sure that as you move forward, you're doing. And the power for me to get these brand standards, I didn't do it alone, but to get the sustainability brand standards across the line to make sure that they're there is something that I haven't had before. And so I think the plan is to get these, and they're going to be the 24 for 24 are the very, very basic ones, but they're going to be brand agnostic. They're going to be for all the hotels. We're looking at Anantara first, and then moving around. Then we have, and this is moving away again from my department. I'm happy to be the face for it but I don't want to take credit for other people's work. Then we're looking very much at gap analysis in the hotels, looking at lead in various places. And this is something that these are words that I know, but implementing it comes from the technical services division. We're looking at making sure that sustainability is written into our hotel management agreements at the very beginning. Right. So it's not Green Growth 2050. And I keep coming back to it, but that's the cornerstone I see everything built on. That it doesn't come as a surprise when you get ready to open the hotel and you've been up. the hotel had to be operational for 18 months before we have it. Hotel management agreement is going to say you need to be green growth. You may not be able to be certified at opening, but you're going to be green growth certified ready at gold level by opening. So we have all of those things written in. And then we see where we go from there. I mean, there's a lot of, when we started putting together, and I got people from all over the world to come and help me with these 24 from 24. And when we first started writing them, we had 250. There are 250, 300 brand standards that you, as a sustainability person, you wish were in there as a brand standard. So these are the easy ones, if you like. The first 24, the next are going to be things that require CapEx. One of the bonus CapExes we have is they're going to have a 5-year rolling sustainability CapEx that people are thinking, okay, what can I be buying for my hotel that in 5 years' time is going to help me save energy, is going to help me. And we've got to do a little bit of work and talking about how long the ROI for that is going to be. Can we factor in carbon costs to make the ROI get past the financial departments? And we're still having those conversations. But the fact that it's there that you have to have your 5-year rolling CapEx for and that's a bonus on the 24, but it's there written in quite nicely.
So you're best friends with the finance team now.
I had breakfast with them this morning. Poor guy.
I think sustainability and finance are hand in hand at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a question of finding out what the needs of the company are in that way, and then also obviously we need to talk to a little bit about to hotel ownership and make sure that we're explaining it correctly to them, or finding out a way that, anyway, there are various mechanisms we can look at. But
correct. No, I think that's wonderful, John. What you've told us in terms of the future ahead is the leadership, and you seem to be certainly inspired by the leadership.
Yes.
And also, what things are you putting into brand standards and the design? I'm really looking forward to the design aspect coming, which means you're bringing the sustainability journey much from the start.
Yes.
And there are beautiful minor hotels opening, right? Because I heard about the Banana Island.
Yep. And
the entire conservation. Is there artificial reef that you're building there at Banana Island in Doha?
Oh, it's built. That's one of our unsung programs. It really, and again, I can take no credit for it. About 4 or 5 years ago, they put in an artificial reef. And so previously out there, it's an artificial island, I believe, and they put the reef in there. And slowly, they have a marine biologist. She didn't come in this year, but has previously come in. Slowly watching the wildlife grow around there, and watching to the point where this year they actually they had a bull shark hunting on the reef. So it's gone from nothing to having a pretty fearsome predator, but there's something there to attract, and they actually very quietly seem to run a private marine protected area, in that they installed last year. They installed the radar on the top part of the island. It's not a very tall island, but on the highest part, so they can spot incoming fishing boats, and they have agreement with the government that their security can then go out and say, no, this is a protected area. So it's one of our real unsung projects. I think
there are quite a few unsung.
I think there are.
They are, John. From what I've seen, look, I've started working with, as an outside consultant, started working with Anantara probably 2 years ago. And what I've really noticed is these unsung heroes everywhere.
Yeah.
Even the downtown, Anantara downtown is going through renovation, right? I was surprised at how much green wall coverage you have now. And what's coming, is that something that's also an unsung, or is that still in development?
No, that's still in development. That's actually, and they've done that off their own bat, but it inspired one of the brands. It's just outside my sustainability brand standard. We actually, from the inspiration from what they did there, that one of the brand standards, let's hope it gets signed off, is going to be on lobby design and greenery in lobby, and that's going to be part of.
All right, rolling up into the other round.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Tanzania, right? You have no new properties opening in Africa now, which are very much all about ecotourism. And even talk about your elephant. I'm going back to now your baby.
Yeah.
How many elephants do you have there, and how do you ensure sustainability with wildlife and, putting them on the property?
The easy answer. No easy answers. So first of all, so the property in Africa is going to be in Zambia, in Kafue National Park, a tented camp coming up there very, very shortly, and I'm very excited about that. But we're not going to talk about that now because you went back to my baby.
Correct.
But yeah, that's really going to be top of the range, and everybody's on board with that being really low footprint, very high sustainability, and yeah, that's my. I'm again, other people doing all the work. I'm going to go and possibly take all the credit for it, but no, that's going to be great. Back to something I can take the blame for and the credit for, and I've taken a fair amount of both, because having the idea of having captive elephants on a hotel property, the idea behind that, or the perception of that, has changed dramatically. And the way we've done it, to be fair, we've improved dramatically, because we've learned more about science, has changed all dramatically in the last 20 years. But at the moment we have 20 elephants on site, and how we ensure that that's sustainable is we have enough room, and we always had enough room and enough forest to do that. And that has been a journey, and trying to grow sustainably, working with the local communities, working with the people who've had responsibility for looking after captive elephants. It's been part of their culture, handed down generation to generation for 4,000 years, but also a responsibility, of course, to the elephants. And I think it's fair to say, in the last 20 years, as with many things, our understanding, there's a lot of people from reading the old ancient Northern Indian text are going to yell at me for saying this, but our understanding of elephants' mental needs, the understanding of where they, and part of this has been the research we've done at our place with various different visiting scientists, has changed. So we're much more understanding on, and I think possibly animals and animal welfare in general as well. So the way we've managed to, in the last 20 years, when 20 years ago, we knew we had to look after elephants well. We knew they needed space, but for pretty much everything else, we trusted the mahouts. These are the guys who've been looking after elephants for 4,000 years, again, for better or worse. To the way we've grown and worked out what the elephants needs, tried to train the mahouts on different training methods. We have positive, the guy I'm going to go and see in Sharjah in a minute. He ran our positive reinforcement training program for the elephants. And we brought in mahouts and trainers from all over Southeast Asia and showed them scientific positive reinforcement training. Because, I mean, all mahouts, in my experience, they perform positive reinforcement, but they don't understand how it's done. So being able to grow and develop that with and help, if you like, the mahouts, the elephant owning community, not only it seems weird for a foreigner to say understand more about elephants' mental needs, but we've been able to, I think, to look at it scientifically, let's put it that way, but also the expectations of the traveling public. And tourism is about the only way you can feed elephants at the moment in captivity, and to help them better understand the needs of the traveling public as well. So that's, I'm not sure that answers your question, but it's I mean, it's been my career, so I could go for forever.
Correct. So it's been a pleasure having you, John, and it's a journey, like you said. As a closing remark, what do you want to leave behind with the audience in terms of inspire us for sustainability?
Well, I think for sustainability in general, I think a lot of people talk about tipping points, and there are the big global tipping points that we're working towards, beyond which we will not be able to ever undo the damage that is being done to the environment. So what I would like to say to inspire people in their own daily lives, and if they manage hotels, and if they do everything else, is to do what you can. Even in your personal life, if you're doing something, we understand that we cannot all live 100% sustainable lives, but if you can get rid of single-use plastic from your hotel, if you can carry a reusable coffee mug, reusable water bottle, all of the walk instead of drive, take the train instead of fly, all of these things make a difference. I think they delay us getting to the tipping point. And if in the meantime we manage to stop us getting to the tipping point, that's all very good, or we understand more about what to do after it. And I think we're in that game at the moment. And I call it a game, but maybe it is. I don't know. But we're in that period at the moment where we're delaying our getting to the tipping point. And anything we can do personally, we're not all going to be able to change the world. I think most people are not going to be in the happy position that I've been in of being able to change a lot of hotels. I mean, if you think about getting single-use plastic bottles out of, the majority didn't happen to all of them, hotel rooms in 2008, and the expansion we've done in that. So not everybody's going to be in the position to be able to do that. Right. But if you can do it in your own house, then you'll do it and inspire your friends to do the same, then you're doing something. So the little things also help. Turn the lights off.
Yeah, no, that's true. So we all have the power.
Yeah, to do something, and it's delaying. And if it delays by a microsecond, that might be enough. Who knows? Correct.
And that's beautiful. I think that's a nice way to summarize the podcast. We're on a journey, and you've done certainly with 550 hotels, and how you started with one and it's expanded, and that's been your life.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us today, John. Wonderful having you on the show. And it's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Welcome back to Sustainability Stories podcast, sponsored by Sustainability Kiosk. Sustainability Kiosk is a platform to support with your operational emissions reduction across energy, water, food and waste, and consumables. I'm your host, Radhika Arapalli, and join me as we interview global leaders in hospitality, solution providers, changing the landscape for sustainable hotels. Subscribe to our newsletter on Sustainability Kiosk, as we intend to send you only the latest information as we do more of the good stuff. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we're always welcome for feedback. Any questions, head on to Sustainability Kiosk. This is Sustainability Stories podcast, sponsored by Sustainability Kiosk.